had a very involved community member who had me come to a meeting with another sitting board member now. They weren't a board member then. And the person was suggesting someone in our system was dirty in the construction area. And look, we built a ton of schools. We have 96 campuses, so we built a lot over time. We grew fast. And so I didn't know what to do with that. Then I started hearing things like that there were millions of dollars in contracts that I had not seen. And this is after I've been serving about 9-10 months on the board, and it's not for the children. And I started getting feedback in places, but I did not know what to do with the information. So about a year in, we got our mid-year financial report given to us at the board meeting. And so I thought this is a great time to ask some questions, right? And so I asked if I could have, actually I did my homework. How could there be budget if we're required to sign everything? It shifted this year to $100,000 at the legislature, but it was $50,000. We signed any contract over $50,000 or approved it at the board. So I'm like, how could there be a contract that we haven't approved? And so the only thing would have been maybe continuing contracts, right? And so those are ones where maybe it had a 5-year term and we hadn't seen it yet. So I asked from the dais in December if I could have a copy of the continuing contracts. Didn't get it. And remember, at this point, we're not a majority board. At this point, we're this little minority of 3 on the board and we're being played. It's easy. Once you got 4, like I said. So we were just trying to be a voice of the wilderness.
You have 4 that are sort of in lockstep.
Yes, we had 4 that were the old guard, and then the 3 of us came in. And so asked again in January from the dais. And you have a lot of rights as an individual trustee. We're really not the board until we're at the board meeting. But each trustee has the right by Texas Education Code. Code says you have the right to get the information you need to govern and be a representative of your community. So I asked in January, I asked again in February. And by this point, I have gotten no information about the contracts. And that happened to be timed with when we moved into a new administration building. So I went up there with some plans and to get some rodeo, tickets for our kids. And I asked that day, I said, I must have my list of my contracts. Oh, it's been hard to put together. We have these contracts. And so they gave me a list. There was a lot of flailing of arms because the unfortunate thing about the new building that's so fancy, very fancy, Class A finishes, they have glass walls in the offices. So they're in there. This is the man who was in charge of building buildings, the chief person in charge of that whole program of facilities and construction, flailing arms about these contracts. They give me some copy of something that they improved a little bit later. And then that gentleman actually, he announced, he's no longer there, he announced that he was resigning or retiring later that year. But it just left me with a lot of questions about the
so
contracts.
you heard rumblings about corruption with contracts, and when you tried to go and find out about these suspicions, you were not given any contracts.
I wasn't given them for 3 months, and then I was given something. But then something way more sinister happened.
When you were given something, what does that mean you were given something?
Finally, but I marched up there and said, you will. It was like a little handmade, typed up report where they had to go digging through systems to figure out, to give me the list of contracts. It didn't give me very much confidence, put it that way. We obviously are very sophisticated, sitting in a very expensive building with Class A finishes, and we don't have the software where we can just say, oh, here's your list of contracts.
Did they finally give it to you?
I got a list. What I'd like to see is what it means when we do a forensic audit. Let me see. Is that really the contracts? I don't know.
So what you're saying is you got information and you're not certain that this information is reliable.
Correct. How can I check, Chris?
And what kind
Imagine you're me. Like
what kind of contracts are they?
We are so huge. It could be copiers. We build buildings. We have paper supply. We have food we buy. We have, think of what you do to run a school system. You all the materials it would take. You have all the maintenance and custodial supplies. You have.
So you're thinking that there's fat built into all the potentially into a portion of the contracts. There's some I don't know what to say, like some fat to give out.
I don't know. How can I be on the board 4 years and I don't know? When it's my legal responsibility is to understand that.
Right.
So yes.
So a forensic audit needs to be done. Who would do the forensic audit?
There's firms that do that specifically. They do it through digital resources.
And if you hire a forensic audit, you think there's a reasonable chance that there's enough, lard in there that you can cut the fat out and solve the budget balance problems. So in other words, potentially in Cy-Fair ISD, it is it's a party, right, where there's looting going on, where everyone's got their hand in the company jar, getting extra cash to pay for things that are not that shouldn't be being paid for.
I think there's also something that actually impacts the entire region, possibly,